Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. On today's show, we meet Marilyn Duran, the head of Sowing Seed School, and she discusses what a joy it is to run a school designed for infants and toddlers. But first, New Jersey is becoming more energy efficient with the help from the Center for Community Systems at the New Jersey Institute of Technology in Newark. Their executive director, Dr. Colette Santasieri, is here to tell us about this research center. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us about the center and the amazing work you are doing.
Well, the Center for Community Systems is a university research center that is located in the Hillier College of Architecture and Design at the New Jersey Institute of Technology. And our mission is to be a resource and a conduit for helping communities to become more livable, more sustainable, and more resilient. And we do this in a number of different ways. So it's not just energy, but it's also about the environment and building community capacity and helping communities revitalize. The center was created a few years ago, and it was based on work that myself and my team have been doing at the university for many, many years. There's a lot of work that needs to be done within communities to help them to be more sustainable. So we came up with different ways that we can do this through our center. We provide a lot of technical assistance programs that are free to communities, to local governments, to nonprofits, where we help build community capacity to change the physical environment, which helps to improve the community, not only from an environmental standpoint, but an economic standpoint and from social equity standpoint. So our center is comprised of a multidisciplinary staff of environmental planners, community planners, environmental engineers, geologists, and social scientists. So when we go into communities, because we have all of those disciplines, we can look at what's going on in the community and come up with ways that we can help, we can provide assistance, we can build community capacity. One of our programs is called Technical Assistance to Brownfields Communities Programs. And we are funded by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, who provides us grant money so that we can provide technical assistance to any New Jersey community that has a brownfield. And brownfields are defined as properties that are vacant or underutilized that may be contaminated or are perceived to be contaminated based on previous commercial or industrial activities. So if you think of the closed mills in New Jersey, or the closed gas stations, the closed dry cleaners, those old abandoned factories, many communities in New Jersey have them. But a lot of communities don't have the technical resources in-house to deal with these properties. You know, how do we bring these properties back into productive use? So what we do is we go into communities and we help them. We map out a plan of how these properties can be cleaned up, how they can be redeveloped, where the communities can get funding to do that type of work, how the communities can engage, how the local governments can engage their communities to come up with ideas on what those properties could be redeveloped as. So we've done this throughout New Jersey. It's not just an urban issue. It's not just a North Jersey issue. We've been in South Jersey and rural communities in New Jersey, as well as our big cities, helping, again, build that community capacity to look at the built environment and see how that can be a catalyst for community change.
Once you go in there and implement the plan, have there been success stories that you want to share?
A lot of times when we go into communities, they're just starting to think about, how do we do this? So a lot of our work happens very, very early on. So unfortunately, we don't get to see or be engaged with that final success. But if you look throughout New Jersey, there's lots of factories that have been redeveloped for residential use, for commercial and retail use, for entertainment space. They're all throughout New Jersey. But usually when we come into a community, we're coming in at the very beginning in the planning stages.
What are some of the initiatives you have been working on as the executive director?
Probably my biggest job here is to find funding, because all of the work that myself and my staff does, we have to be funded by external sources. I mean, we're housed within the university, but we need the money that funds us to come from elsewhere. So I am always looking for opportunities, funding opportunities from the federal government, from the state government, from corporate sponsors to help us do the work that we do. So I'm always applying for grant funding. This year alone has been a great year for us for the Center for Community Systems. We've won probably about $13 million in grant funding to do a host of different types of projects. But that's my biggest job is to figure out where do we get the money, and then once we do get the funding, how do we put together programs where we can be of the most help to New Jersey's communities.
What I love about what you're doing here, Doctor, is you're not just helping out the New Jersey citizens, but you're also helping out the students, which is so vital. What a learning opportunity for those studying at NJIT.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. My center has been engaged with students in a number of different ways. We have hired students as research assistants to help us do the work that we do, and that's great. Boots on the ground type of experience for them. I also teach a class here in the Hillier College of Architecture and Design called Community Revitalization through Land Remediation, and it serves to show our students the challenges that communities have, especially those industrial legacy communities that have those abandoned factories and mills, to see the environmental injustices that have happened over the years that those communities are still struggling with, and then to show that there is a pathway for success, a pathway to clean up those contaminants and to revitalize those properties, bring them back into productive reuse, especially uses that help the communities with the needs that they may have. Some communities need housing. So a lot of these properties can be redeveloped for residential uses. Some communities need healthcare facilities. So these properties can be redeveloped for healthcare services. So we focus on the built environment as that catalyst for community change. So it's really rewarding to work with our students in kind of opening their eyes to these environmental ills, I would say, and the real impacts they have on our communities. And again, showing them a pathway to making change within the communities so that the communities are healthier and have all their needs satisfied through new land uses.
You're talking about all this redevelopment, and I can only think of the city that you reside in Newark. There's a lot going on for your students to learn from.
So NJIT is very involved with our host city, especially the Hillier College of Architecture and Design. We have programs through the college that work directly with the city. One of the projects that I am personally working on with one of my collaborators, Professor Darius Sulahub here at the Hillier College of Architecture and Design, deals with a community that lays right outside the fence line of Newark Airport, and it's the Dayton neighborhood of Newark. You have an airport there, which is a real economic engine, but the community that lies right next to the airport really can't tap into that engine. People who live in that neighborhood, if they work at the airport, it is a long commute for them to actually get to the airport. They can't just walk over the railroad tracks and into the airport. And they really can't tap into, as I said, the economic engine that airport represents for not only Newark, but the state of New Jersey. So Professor Sulhub and I have been working with a lot of stakeholders involved in this effort. We have received funding from the Prudential Foundation, which has been a great supporter of this effort. And we're working with the community to identify what land uses do they need that will help the community become more economically stable, more economically profitable, but also what other needs does that community have? Do they need housing? Do they need recreational opportunities? What needs do they have? And then how can those lands that are located right outside the airport be redeveloped to satisfy those needs?
That's so great. You're so knowledgeable about the subject. Tell us about your journey to NJIT and how you established yourself there.
So, from an educational standpoint, I have a bachelor's degree in environmental planning and design. So, that's where the environmental passion comes from. But I also have a master's in civil engineering and a doctorate in urban systems. My two graduate degrees are actually from NJIT. So I've had a long relationship with the university, both from an educational standpoint, and then I've worked at the university for the past 29 years. It's a great place to work. The university does a lot of great work, not only with our students, but external to the university. For instance, with the programs that I mentioned that our center does, we reach into Newark, but we reach beyond Newark. We reach throughout New Jersey and beyond. A lot of the work that we do at the center is beyond New Jersey. We work in a lot of different states. So NJIT is a great anchor for not only teaching our students all about all of these real world problems and coming up with real world solutions, but actually being in communities, our professional staff and our professors being in communities and helping to effectuate change. I grew up in a city and there was not a whole lot of open space. And so I always craved that environmental experience. I craved the more trees, more grass, more wildlife located in the city. But I also, from my background, saw that people who live in cities are adversely impacted by the environment, whether that is those contaminated properties or living close to, highways and having health impacts. So I guess that just stuck with me since my youth, having that urban experience and then looking at ways that I can help improve those experiences.
The town I live in is constantly in development. There is not a stitch of land at this point that hasn't been built on. And I don't know, in my opinion, maybe kind of refurbish what's already there. What do you think?
Yeah, so we have a challenge in New Jersey. We're a great state. We have a lot of built environment. We also have a lot of open space. And in my opinion, it would be great to keep the open space open and not developed, because those are great opportunities for people to experience the environment. Those open spaces are really critical to our wildlife and to our ecosystems. So, the challenge in New Jersey is, where do we develop and where don't we develop? And how do we make it profitable for those who want to develop and not have a ton of restrictions on them as well? I mentioned brownfield sites earlier in our discussion. Those are excellent platforms for redevelopment. Rather than looking to sites where there has been no development, which we typically called greenfields, let's look to those properties that have been developed in the past and are just sitting there vacant or underutilized. There are buildings that, some of these old factories can be repurposed and have been. If you look in Hoboken, there's a lot of former factories that have new uses. That's a great opportunity to preserve some of our history and to build within areas where the built environment already exists, where the infrastructure is there already, where the water lines and the gas lines, all the utilities are there already. So in my opinion, we should be focusing on development in those areas and keeping our open space open.
Where can people find out more, and how can outsiders support what you're doing at NJIT?
So to find out more about what we do, all you have to do is Google NJIT Center for Community Systems. That will bring you to our website. My contact information is there. Anybody, feel free to reach out to me or a member of my team. The website tells a little bit more about what we do, and we're always looking for people to engage with us. As I said, we go into a lot of communities and help explain a lot of these environmental conditions, explain the laws and the regulations. So I'm always looking for local governments and municipalities and communities to reach out to us and say, hey, come on in. We would love to hear about what you do, but also we would love to engage with you and learn how we can further protect our environment. We always look for people who are interested in engaging with our students, professionals, all different professionals, to come in and speak with our students, tell us about what they do. We're going to be having a redevelopment competition with our honors college. We're going to have teams of students who are going to be working on developing ideas to redevelop a particular brownfield site. And so we're looking for communities who are interested in working with us there, but we're also going to be looking for consultants, environmental consultants and planners to come and help our students out during that activity, coach them as they come up with their visions and their designs. So we're always looking to engage with the outside community. And there's many different ways that we can do that.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on. A second location of the popular Sowing Seed School will open later this year in Port Imperial, New Jersey. The head of school, Marilyn Duran, joins us to discuss how the Sowing Seed creates programs that are developmentally appropriate and designed for infants and toddlers. Marilyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to dive into this with you because I have an infant and a toddler. So I want to know, how does Sowing Seed School stand out from all the rest?
Well, having an infant and a toddler at the same time is quite challenging. I had my 3 children very close in age. So, and I recognize the challenges that come, for families that, especially working families, as, yourself, where you have a career and you have small children. So that is what we have here: services and care, and a high quality program for families that are working families with big careers, that need accessibility, most of them to New York City, and need a high quality program for their children. So our programs here start in the ages of actually from 6 weeks old to 5 years old. So the children can be here as early as 2 months. They usually come in about 2 months old. And then they are here until they graduate from pre-K 4, and they go on to the big schools. They go on to kindergarten. And so we do also have a preschool program that prepares them for kindergarten. So we have a 10,000 square foot facility, which we are planning to emulate, in the new Sowing Seed School too. So we have a state-of-the-art facility. We have high ceilings. We have natural lighting. Many of our classrooms have a skyline view of New York City into their classroom. Natural lighting is very important. So the programs that we offer, we have 10 classrooms, and in each of the classrooms, we have a specific age group. So the infants are separated from the toddlers and separated from the preschoolers as well. So each classroom has a certain amount of square footage, has a certain curriculum, and a certain amount of students, depending on the square footage of that classroom. And we operate between the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So each classroom has their unique team. That team belongs to that room, and the children become very connected with their team of teachers. And that consistency is also really key to their development and their growth.
My daughter, she goes to school 2 days a week. She's in pre-K 3, and she's so attached to her teacher. She talks about them all the time, even though seeing them twice a week, and that's very important. Tell us more about how your educational programs are created and executed.
New Jersey has standards, just like they have standards for first grade, second grade, all of the grades above. In 2014, since so many young children were coming to school, New Jersey, like many other states, developed their standards for birth to 3. So they are called birth to 3 early learning standards of New Jersey. And to put it simply, those standards give us 6 domains where the children learn by. So an example of a domain would be cognitive. Another example would be fine motor behavior, how they use their fingers for, for holding a pencil or a crayon, or, of course, in the future, doing everything that you need your fingers for. So gross motor development, how they use their bodies. So there are many domains within those standards. So our curriculum, which is creative curriculum, is aligned. The lesson plans are aligned to New Jersey's standard domains. So that means, in simple terms, that the children are working on activities that are planned by the teachers in the classroom. They are offered opportunities to use their skills in many different ways across the domains. And so it lets us know if they're meeting their milestones. It's play-based. They just think they're having fun, they're being stimulated, but at the same time, because of the activities that are aligned to the standards, we're able to see if they're meeting their milestones in all domains. And then, of course, we communicate that very, well with the parents, with the families, and we refer them to the pediatrician. And then together we work out whether there's, intervention necessary, therapy necessary, and then I help the parents find the help that they need.
Marilyn, what is your background and how did it inspire you to start Sowing Seed School?
Okay. So I have always been in education. I was a teacher. I went to college and got a bachelor's degree and immediately got a master's degree in administration and supervision. I have certifications in early childhood, elementary education, bilingual, bicultural, teaching ESL, and then I have a master's in administration. I began as a classroom teacher. First, I was in an early childhood private setting, which I really loved. And, at that early stage of my life, I said, one day I'm going to have my own school. So I only worked in that school for like 2 or 3 years. And then I went into the public school setting, and I was a teacher there as well for about a decade. And then for the remaining 20 years, I was a principal. So I was a principal of early childhood. I was a principal of elementary school. And then I became a director of educational programs and worked in central office very closely with the superintendent of schools. I retired in 2014 from the school district. But we noticed that there was a demand here for childcare, for really good childcare, high quality childcare. So after I retired, my husband, with his business knowledge and my knowledge and the help of my children, who are now working adults, we put the plans together. It took us about 2 years to establish the Sowing Seed School 1. And so now we are watching so many new buildings go up in this area, and many of our classrooms here, even though we have a big school, many of our classrooms are full to capacity. And we are also exploring a kindergarten program because many of our parents have asked about this. I would say 95% of our families live in the Port Imperial area. We do have some families that, drive here to bring their children to school and then go on to the city. But the majority of our Sowing Seed School families walk here and bring their children here. So it's very convenient for them. And again, we have 10 to 12 hour programs. So as you said, your babies are in a 2-day program, and we do have part-time programs, but the majority of our families need a full-time 10-hour and sometimes 12-hour a day program, 5 days a week. But we do offer the part-time as well.
How can parents learn more about your school and enroll their children?
So we have tours every day here. I do tours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and my girls handle Mondays and Wednesdays. And so, we welcome families here. We show them the facility, and we talk about the new facility, which is going to be very similar to this one. But you can also go on to sowingseedschool.com and send us an email or a message, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible.
Marilyn, I loved getting to know you and your story and everything you're doing for the next generation at the Sowing Seed. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you. And if you're ever in the area and you want to stop in, I'd love to meet you and, and meet your babies. How old are they?
Liana will be 3 in March, and baby Joey, he was born June 12th of last year, so right now he's 7.5 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those are the exciting years. Enjoy them.
And
It
it's
goes way too
hectic.
fast.
Woo, is it hectic?
I know.
But
Enjoy
thank
it.
you, Marilyn. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week.